Alright, today we're going to be hooking up a backup camera on my Fleetwood Tioga 24D. This is 24, actually about 26 foot, Class C. Really what I'm using this for is towing a trailer. I got a boat trailer and it's impossible to see anything behind it at all when the boat's hooked up, so hopefully this backup camera will give me a view and make it a little easier down the boat ramp. So we'll open up the package, take a look at it, see what's involved, and then start with the install. Okay, so we got our rear view safety 7-inch LCD camera backup system with audio. Model number is RVS-770613. So let's take a look and see how they package this thing and what actually is contained. Alright, looks like they give us a small installation manual. Take a look at that. This is the 7-inch screen. Okay. What else we got? Like the mount for the LCD. The camera itself. Very, looks like a pretty good construction. The top shield is metal, and the bottom mount is metal. The camera itself looks like it's plastic, but it's a pretty heavy-duty plastic. It doesn't feel cheap. I mean, there's pretty good weight to this thing. It's probably a pound or so. Rubber grommet, that's going to be useful. As others have mentioned on the web, this is the connector that you essentially are going to have to drill a hole to put that through. Definitely looks like a quality cord, so I'll put that aside. Got a hardware bag here, some screws, Allen wrench, tighten up that mount the way you want it, and your remote control. It's actually a little bit nicer than the one that looked on the web. It's got raised buttons. Rather than just those flat bubble type of buttons. And I think, let's see what else we got here. This is the MUX. They didn't have very good pictures on this, so I'm going to try to get some good ones on here. It's got a camera 1, 2, and 3 with reversing mirror mode on 1, 2, and 3. Most of them I saw on the web only showed the mirror feature on camera 1 and 2, so it's good to see they've probably updated that. It's got a video out, it's got your power. The nice thing through my research on the power is this one handles between 12 and 24 volt, which is important for an automobile because you're not always at 12, you might be at 13 or 14 volts. So this one will handle that range. And then you've got your 3 connections for your cameras. If I flip it over here, camera 1 on this one, camera 2 or DVD, camera 3 backup. So the way I understand this, your camera 3 backup will also coincide with your power cable here. Looks like they have actually labeled each wire for us. This one here says backup. This one here, let's see, this is ground. We've got a screen TFT and a right. So it looks like they've done a good job at least labeling all for us. But evidently, if you have power on this blue wire for your backup and you have your camera plugged into camera number 3, the unit should automatically switch to that camera when power is applied to that blue wire. So it's in the manual. Take a look. Provide you different options for setting it up. Okay, and here's our wire. 20 meter cable, so yeah, about 60 feet. It does have a rubber boot that they include, so looks like you twist these guys together, slide the rubber boot over, give you a little bit more weatherproofing protection. So this is, it's a pretty thick wire. It's heavy duty, so I think it's going to be a lot better than some of those RCA ones I saw out there. And then they include another pigtail. I'm guessing this is just a converter if you've probably got an RCA camera laying around. Looks like you could probably use this to convert as one of your ports on there. So Nice packaging, looks like a quality unit. So next step is I'll be installing this on my motorhome, and I'll give you an idea on that process. Alright, to mount the camera, what I did was I started by removing this center light here so I could get access in there. I did need to drill a 3/4 inch hole in here in order to use their grommet. When I mounted the camera, I used some silicone behind it. Used some different screws. I really didn't like the ones they use, so I don't know if you can see them. I just kind of use the same type of screw that's already all over the RV, some self-tappers. Be careful when you're drilling through. This is fiberglass, so I made sure the hole was large enough so I wouldn't split it. As far as running the wire, there's a screw down here on this light shroud. If you take that one off, you can get your fingers up underneath here and tuck the wire. You'll have access through this light, and then you'll be able to tuck the wire up underneath there. Go all the way down to the end of the RV here, and there is a channel that runs right down here on the corner. So you'll be able to fish the wire all the way down, and then luckily enough, I was able to find a wire loom here that I could tie into, and it runs all the way down the frame rail to the front of the RV. And I'll show you how I wired that here. To wire the front of the RV, what I did was I took this kick panel off, and it just snaps in. There's no bolts holding it in. And what that did is that showed me where the wire loom from underneath the RV comes out. It's going to be a perfect location for me. So the wire comes through this wire loom. It is a 60-foot long cable, so I'm going to have quite a bit of access on this 26-foot RV. So I went ahead and just ran it in this channel alongside the other wires that are already there. There is a wire loom that comes up underneath this seat, so I was able to tie into that. And at that point, I went ahead and I removed the seat. There's only 4 bolts holding the seat on. Will give you easy access. Go ahead and take it off, just lay it off to the side. And then I was able to mount the MUX right underneath the seat. So it should keep it out of the dirt, water, whatever I might get in here. Ran the camera right into here. One thing I wish the kit did include, I wish it included some boots to cover these extra camera ports. I wanted to keep them clean. Didn't want to get dirt, water, whatever in them, so I went ahead and covered them with tape. As far as wiring the power, what I did, I thought I was going to be able to tie into this fuse box underneath the seat. Unfortunately, this fuse box is always on, so there's no circuit tied to the ignition, which is what I was looking for. I wanted the camera to come on and off with the ignition key. So I ran a positive wire, ran it back down this wire loom, came up through the kick panel. There's a rubber grommet that goes through the firewall where all the other wires run. Just went ahead and followed that through to the front fuse panel, found a circuit, tied into that. So this really made it pretty easy. The only other thing I'll point out, in the manual they talk about the blue wire being for the backup camera. If you tie that with your red wire, anytime you turn your ignition on, the system's going to automatically turn on and flip to the backup camera. And that's what I wanted to do. Even though I only have a 1-camera system right now, I wanted it to kind of default to that. Alright, to tie into the fuse panel up underneath the engine, I bought one of these, it's called Addis Circuit. You can get it at your local automotive store. Basically, the neat thing about this is it takes an existing slot for a fuse, and you put this in its place. And then on this side, you can see that, you've got 2 places for a fuse. One is replacing basically the existing fuse in the bottom, and the top you get this positive wire that you can now add a second circuit. So probably the easiest way to tie into a fuse, this way you're not splicing into wires and things like that. And you can also check it that it's the right place before. You could obviously move this around to different circuits once you've wired it up. Real simple. So neat little gadget, costs about 10 bucks or so, but I think it's well worth it. Alright, I thought I'd show the inside where I mounted the camera. I ended up selecting this location over here. I know some people will mount them up here in the corner. With this size of screen, it was a little distracting. I think when you were driving, it's going to be right there. You're always going to be glancing off at it. So I picked this over here, which is not in the way. I've got all my windshield view. This particular RV has got a compartment here, really just to put change or whatever. So I use that. I fabricated a mount. This is where I just kind of put the remote. but it's just a 1.5 inch square tube. Welded some of it together, put some rubber on the top and bottom, so it's really just a friction mount. And then I did drill, had to drill a 1-inch hole. That camera or screen's got a pretty large connector on it, so I'm gonna have to go find a grommet there. Cable, ran it here behind my ductwork, down underneath here, came across the floor, and was able to go into the MUX. Okay, so I got this camera hooked up where if I just go to my accessory position, the camera will turn on. I don't know if you can see that. It's basically my driveway. The speaker does work pretty good. You can hear audio if somebody's back there talking or whatever. You know, it's plenty loud enough to hear. I've got a pretty good vision. Again, I angled my camera because I'm going to be hauling a boat, so I wanted the end of the boat about 3/4 up the screen, and then I'd have a little bit more beyond that to, you know, see back into the boat ramp. What that basically did is the bottom of my screen is a 4-foot view behind the RV. So, you know, the first 4 feet I can't see to the ground. I could see a person standing there about 2 feet back, so, you know, that's pretty good. I can live with that. You know, if it becomes an issue, add another camera, you know, point it straight down at the hitch or something. So again, so that's the install. If you have any questions or comments, you know, let me know. Hopefully this will be helpful to you.